Okay, so in the Uncovering the Ferrari After Winter video, we saw that some of the aluminium areas of the car had got a little bit of surface tarnishing on them. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover now cleaning up bare aluminium in a car and what you can do. I mean, this is the same bare aluminium that you'd find inside a car. It's also the sort of aluminium that you might find under a bonnet or in an engine compartment, so it's pretty much the same sort of stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on the F1 panel, which has got the reverse auto and launch control buttons. I'm going to remove it from the car because it's got leather at the side of it, so we don't want to get that covered in any cleaner. So it's probably faster to take the 4 bolts out, unplug the unit and then clean it outside of the car. The paddles are pretty straightforward because they're in the car and we just need to give them a wipe over. So we're going to take this panel out now, so give me 2 seconds, I'll go and get some tools and we'll get it removed from the car. Okay, so we're just going to take this panel off now. You can see the little bits of surface corrosion. The only reason, like I say, I'm not going to clean it in the car is just because you've got the leather all the way around the outside edge. So it's better to just take it out for how long it's going to take these 4 screws out and then clean it outside of the car rather than getting all sorts of black dirt and gunge all over the leather, and then we've got to clean that off as well. So just probably, I've never actually taken this panel off, but I should imagine there's going to be these 4 screws, and then underneath we're going to have a couple of connectors that we're going to have to remove, and it's not going to be too involved. If a panel is easy to take off like this, you might as well take it off where you can. Even if it's a case of that you don't want to unplug it from the car, lift it out and maybe get something like a plastic bag, put it underneath, and then you can protect the surface afterwards, and just make sure that you're not going to get any of the muck and grime on there. Okay, so we're just going to prise this up now with this nylon spreader. Just makes it a little easier and spreads the weight out, because you don't want to be digging in there with a screwdriver. That will dent the leather that's there. Okay, so now we've got it undone, we can see that the switches are held in with a couple of Phillips screws on each one. So we can undo those without having to unplug the whole unit, which is quite good because this means that we can take it out and give it a good clean. So I'll just go and grab another little screwdriver and we'll take that off also. Right, so we've got a couple of little Phillips screws on each one of these. So we're just going to carefully undo those. Okay, making sure that we keep all the screws nice and safe, and we've taken the panel off now. So we're going to be able to give this a good clean up. It's also a good time to, if you're going to be obsessive like me, give inside here a little clean, because you can never get around these little edges. So it's always a good idea to give these a little clean while it's out. But we'll go now and clean this panel off. So now that we've cleaned this part fully up, the next thing's left to do is reassemble, which is obviously the reverse of taking it apart. So let's get on with that now. Okay, now all of those are in. Got to pop it back in, and then get the rest of the screws and pop those in too. There we go, that's our F1 panel, all nice and clean back up. Looking better, we've not got any of the staining on there, it's just nice and clean, and with us adding the jet seal on there, it's also protected it for the future. So the only thing that's left to do now is to get these paddles cleaned up. Slightly different process. The paddles are a little bit more corroded, so it's going to take a little bit more work, so we'll cover that now. So the paddles do need a little bit more of an intensive cleaning. They've just got this crusty layer on there that's not coming off with a all-purpose cleaner, so we're just going to use a little tiny bit of metal polish on there. Now I just want to try and be careful not to get it in the wording too much, because it can be a little bit of a pain to get out. But all we're going to do with a microfiber cloth is just work that into the paddle, and what this should do is polish up the raw aluminium and give us a nice finish at the end, which again will then protect with the jet seal, just to make sure that it lasts for as long as we can before it starts tarnishing again. We also have to do the back of these paddles, because I think it's possibly caused from the oils in your skin, and I think that's what causes the paddles to corrode a little bit more than the rest of the aluminium in the car. And that's my theory on it, because you're obviously touching the paddles and the rest of it you don't really touch too much. So it's like I say, just gentle, medium pressure, you don't need to go monkeying on it, it's fine. And then we'll just give it a quick buff up with this, see what we're working with. There we go, 1,000 times better. So then all we'll do is give it a good buff over with a decent cloth. And we've now removed all of that tarnishing. Paddle looks great again, and all we need to do now is get some jet seal and put that on there, leave it for 20 minutes or so, buff it off, and it will stay like this hopefully for the rest of summer. And if not, it's not a big job to do it again, it just takes a couple of minutes.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.